Okay, thank you, Ashok Krishna Prabhu. Okay, all right. So let's get started. As I was mentioning, we are starting chapter 4 today. So if you recall, in excuse me, in introduction, we talked about what is pure bhakti. In chapter 1, we talked about the 6 characteristics of bhakti, pure bhakti. One of which was that it gives maximum bliss, more bliss than anything else. In the 3rd chapter, we talked about how to perform Vaidhi Bhakti, who can do Vaidhi Bhakti, and who can go back home, back to Godhead. Then last week, in chapter 3, we talked about Bhakti, Bhakta, rather, never wants liberation of the kind to merge in the Brahman effulgence. So Bhakti is always bigger than Mukti. So this chapter basically is going to continue on the same theme, and it gives the translation of many verses from different scriptures like Srimad Bhagavatam and Padma Puran, etc., to support that point. And so we are going to continue, and we're going to go reasonably fast, hopefully today, because it's just basically the same point being made, which is that Bhakti is bigger than Mukti. Okay? All right. The title of the chapter is Devotional Service Surpasses All Liberation, especially again meaning that Bhakti is bigger than Mukti. And basically, as I was saying, the theme is that as long as one is materially inclined or desirous of Sayuj Mukti, which is merging in the Brahman effulgence, one cannot enter into the realm of pure devotional service. So if you recall, Jnana Karmadi Anavratam was the definition we gave in introduction of pure devotional service, which means if this material motivation or material desires or the desire to merge in the Brahman effulgence, we cannot get into pure devotional service. Pure devotional service is devoid of these two things. Okay. Then it will get into a number of reasons why pure devotional service surpasses liberation. Once again, in this chapter, 99.9% of the time when we say liberation, we're talking about liberation of the kind that means merging in the Brahman effulgence. We'll talk about 5 types of liberation. The other 4 are, same form as the Lord, same opulence as the Lord, same planet as the Lord, and close to the Lord. So we're not talking about that when you say liberation here. Like I said, 99.9% of the time in this chapter, when we say liberation, it's talking about the liberation of the kind that merges in the Brahman effulgence. Okay, just so it's clear. Okay, so we'll talk about devotee rejects all desires for bhakti and mukti, which is sense gratification and liberation. And we discussed the reasons for that last week. And we said, because the devotee's heart is so full of transcendental bliss by his attraction to the lotus feet of the Lord Krishna we're talking about, right? That he naturally never wants liberation, because liberation means no identity, no service to Lord, and no association with the Lord. No discussions, Krishna Katha, with the devotees of the Lord, right? So that's one reason. Second reason, the pure devotee is so attracted to the transcendental form of the Lord, the beauty of his face, his smile, his laughing, his pastimes, Adharam Madhuram bhajan that you all know, basically says it all. The pure devotees are so charmed by everything about Krishna. His looks, his form, his face, his smile, his walking, his talking, his stealing, his killing, his going to the Yamuna, his being with the gopis, everything is so sweet that devotee doesn't want anything else. The pure devotee's mind is totally absorbed in the thoughts of the Lord in any of these ways, pastimes, qualities, forms, etc. And therefore, they never even think about going to a place where they cannot see him or serve him. Okay, so I want to make sure that that point is clear. Any questions on that? With the whole basis of the chapter is what I just said.
Prabhu, by this particular liberation, you mean that, sorry, it's Damodar Charan here. I'm trying to turn on my camera, it's not working, but anyway.
It's okay.
By liberation,
there you are.
By liberation in this context, you mean that impersonal liberation, right?
Yeah, so this is what I just said, that 99.9% of the time when I say liberation in this chapter, we're talking about the one that's merging in the Brahman effulgence, which is impersonal.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Now, any other questions or clarifications? Okay, all right. So because that's very, very important point that we need to remember throughout this chapter. Okay. So this chapter starts with Prithu Maharaj's prayer that a devotee does not seek impersonal liberation because it offers no opportunity to taste the bliss of hearing the glories and the pastimes of the Lord. So Prithu Maharaj is saying, instead of Mukti or Bhakti, which is liberation or sense gratification, please, my Lord, give me millions of tongues and millions of ears, so I can constantly chant and hear your glories. How beautiful is that? Give me millions of tongues. And remember, the gopis used to complain also, what is this Vidhata? They're talking about Brahma. He gives Indra thousands of eyes. He gives the peacocks thousands of eyes. They can't see with those. And we want to see my Lord, my lover, my beloved Krishna, and he's given us only two. And those two also come with the lids, eyelids, I mean. So there's a gap every time we want to see him. So same idea. He's saying, give me millions and millions of tongues and millions of ears, so I can chant and I can hear as much as you want to my satisfaction. Okay. So the next paragraph, again, we're on page 37 in case somebody's not there. We're on page 37 of the book. Okay. Chapter 4, Devotional Service, Surpasses all liberation. So second paragraph explains that since the impersonalists have a desire to merge in the existence of the Supreme and lose their individuality, and they have no idea of the form, the transcendental form of the Lord, because they don't believe in the form. So therefore, they have no chance of hearing and chanting the glories or activities or pastimes of the Supreme Lord. Right? Makes sense? If you don't believe in the form in the first place, and you want to go to a place where you can't see him, you can't hear about him, you can't chant about him, then what's there? Okay, so they have no idea. Therefore, they have no chance of hearing because they won't find any pure devotees there who like to chant Krishna's name, pastime, fame, etc. Right? The third paragraph on the same page describes about Bharat Maharaj. It says, it talks about how a pure devotee like Bharat Maharaj very easily gave up his lordship over the planet. He was the king of the planet. His whole family and all that. He gave the affection of his children, society, friends, his own royal opulence he had a beautiful wife. He gave it all up. Why? Because he was attached to the service of the lotus feet of Krishna. He didn't even care about the liberation that we're talking about here. Many great sages want that, but he didn't want it. He just wanted to serve the Lord. And he said, enough, I've enjoyed enough. He gave up everything, went to the forest. So again, the attraction to the lotus feet of the Lord is so blissful that devotees have no desire for merging in the Brahman effulgence or the liberation. Okay. If you go to the next page, 38, it describes how the demon Vitrasur prays not for promotion to Dhruvaloka, not for the lordship over all the planets, not for mystic perfection, not for spiritual emancipation. All he's praying for is, my Lord, please give me your association. and give me your service eternally. There's a demon praying. Now, we have the whole history of, I'm sure we all know the history of the Trasur. Used to be King Chitraketu, got cursed by Mother Parvati for apparently laughing at Lord Shiva. But he didn't forget that he was a pure devotee. So as he was about to be killed, he didn't care about that. He's praying to the Lord. And he says, all I want is your association and your service eternally. And that's a pure devotee. Okay, the second paragraph on same page 38, excuse me, is referring to what I just said about Vritrasur's history as Kinchit-ketu. So here is giving the translation of a very famous verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, which reveals the pure devotee's complete disinterest in heaven or hell, in liberation, or in being stuck eternally in the material world. All that the pure devotee wants, desires is Lord's service. So I'm going to share the screen and put this verse up because I think it's very important that we see it. So it's in your handout, by the way. Okay, so, I forgot to do the summary of chapter 3, but I think I kind of did that. Anyway, so here's the verse. Would somebody like to read this? Sorry. No?
I can read, Prabhuji.
Okay, Prabhu, go ahead.
Yeah, Narayana para sarvena kutashana bibhati swarga apvarga narkeshu api tulyartha darshana.
Okay, translation.
Translation. The devotee solely engaged in the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan, never fear any condition of life. For them, the heavenly planets, liberation, and the hellish planets are all the same. For such devotees are interested only in the service of the Lord.
Right. So all they care for is whether they have an opportunity to serve the Lord. Nothing else matters. Don't bother telling them that heaven is better or liberation is better. No, thank you. All I want is the opportunity to serve the Lord. Okay, in the third paragraph, the story about Indra telling his stepmother Diti that the devotees know what is in their self-interest. And what is that self-interest? Simply devotional service. Now, let's read the third paragraph. Somebody wants to read the third paragraph. Starts with, there is a similar statement by Indra.
I can read it, Prabhuji.
Please go ahead.
There is a similar statement by Indra, the king of heaven, in Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th canto, 18th chapter, verse 74. There Indra addresses mother Diti in this manner: my dear mother, persons who have given up all kind of desire are simply engaged in devotional service to the Lord know what is actually their self-interest. Such persons are actually serving their self-interest and are considered first-class experts in the manner of advancing in the perfectional stage of life.
Right. So the translation, by the way, is a little bit different from what I found in Srimad Bhagavatam, but that's okay. It's basically the same thing. Now, does anybody know or everyone know the background of this story? Why is Indra talking to his mother, and what kind of a mother is he talking to, and what's the background? Anybody knows? No volunteers? Okay, so let me give you the background. I think it's kind of interesting background, although I hope I won't run out of time towards the end. But anyway, the background is, remember Kashyap Muni had 13 wives. One was Aditi, other was Diti, and Diti had 2 children. Anybody remember the name?
Is it Hiranyakashipu and somebody?
Hiranyaksha, yes, correct, very good. So yes, so they had been killed by the Lord. And they were killed because Indra wanted them killed. So their mother Diti was very upset. And she went to her husband, Kashyap Muni, and begged him to give her a son, another son. And Kashyap Muni, being a sage, very advanced sage, he could read the mind of his wife Diti, and he knew that she wants a son who will be destined to kill Indra. So he thought to himself, I would have purified her consciousness before I do that. So he asked her to perform a ceremony called Pumshavan. And basically it was consisting of many, many vows and restrictions. And it had to be performed with great faith for a whole year. And he said that if there's any discrepancy in the discharge of this vow, then the son will be a friend of Indra, not an enemy. So be careful. And he gave a whole list of things that she had to observe, and Indra, of course, understood what, by the way, what's the relationship between Indra and Diti? Anybody knows?
Stepmother.
Yes, very good. So Diti is the stepmother. And so Indra understood what his stepmother's mood was, or what she had in her mind. So he started very carefully and constantly started watching Diti. He actually took a job as a servant so he could watch her, and he was looking for the slightest bit of a deviation or discrepancy from the rules that Kashyap Muni had given to her to do that. And the really minute details of restrictions, like must wash your mouth after you eat, must wash your hands and feet, don't go to sleep during twilight, and on and on, with a whole bunch of things. Anyway, so one day he found that she had slight discrepancy where she forgot to wash her mouth and her feet and hands, and went to sleep. So immediately he entered her womb and he saw the embryo, and with his thunderbolt, he cut it into 7 pieces. And they started crying. Now 7 babies inside the womb are crying, and Indra tells them, oh, please don't cry. And they cut them into 7 each of them in 7 more pieces. So 7 times 7, 49 pieces now. So there are 49 babies in the womb. And then they were born, and they were known as the Maruts, the 49 kinds of air known as Maruts. Anyway, so of course the mother was very, very upset. So, and of course the babies pleaded to Indra, please don't kill us. We are your brothers, please don't kill us. Now, Indra noticed that they had no enmity for him in their mind. So he had compassion. He said, you're all my brothers. You have nothing to fear from me. Now, Diti noticed all this, and she saw her 49 children along with Indra. And she said to Indra, my dear son, she called him son, of which he was in a way, his stepson. I did this very difficult vow just to get a son to kill you. I prayed for only one son, but now I've got 49. How did that happen? So if you know, please tell me. Don't tell me any lies. And then Indra confesses, my dear mother, I was just blinded by selfish interest. I lost sight of religiosity, all the religious principles. And I was just afraid for my life. So I tried to find some fault in you. As soon as I found it, I cut your embryo into 49 pieces. However, by the grace of Supreme Lord, none of them has died. So I assumed that the fact that did not die simply due to your execution of devotional service in your worship of Lord Lord Vishnu. So therefore, I apologize to you. And then he said what he said, which is, those people who are interested only in worshiping the Supreme Personality of Godhead don't desire anything in the material form, in the material world from the Lord. And Krishna fulfills all their desires, and therefore they don't have to ask for anything, including liberation. So that's basically the background. Any questions? I tried to do it very short because otherwise I'll run out of time. Any?
So Prabhuji, are we going to read this in Srimad Bhagavatam, the story you told me right now?
Yes, you will.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
It's in, I think, 6th canto, 8th chapter. No, it's something like that.
So I can tell you. It's
It's either 8th canto,
18th
last
18th
chapter.
chapter, verse 74. Okay.
Prabhu, I had a question.
Go ahead.
So Prabhu, like you previously discussed, like we were discussing Prithu Maharaj also, that he asked for no liberation. And even like Rishabdev is giving similar guidance to, like, his sons also. Now, I have a confusion that this Prithu Maharaj and they are like, and for example, even Parshuram, Lord Parshuram, they are kind of Shakti, like Shaktavesha avatar, right? Like empowered incarnations of the Lord themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So when they like, when they leave, like when they leave from this planet, do they like, are they like eternally Vishnu, like do they go to Vaikuntha directly, or how it works? Like, are they like eternally in Vaikuntha? Like, I know like Lord Ramchandra has its own planet. So like all this, they have their own planets. So what happens with this Shaktavesha avatars?
Yeah, they do go to Vaikuntha. I don't know whether they get their own planets, but they do go to Vaikuntha.
Second question I had was, Prabhu, many times we have seen, even in, I think in Prahlad Maharaj's studies also, he's saying that I don't want to go to Dhruvaloka. You mentioned Dhruvaloka. So the question I had was that is Dhruvaloka like eternal like Vaikuntha, or after a certain period of time, it also gets destroyed?
No, actually, Vaikuntha, it's part of Vaikuntha Loka. It's not even Vaikuntha Loka as such. It's in the Kshirosagar, where Lord Vishnu is residing. So remember, Lord Vishnu, Kshirodaksha Vishnu, he carves out a portion of the material world, turns it into a spiritual world. And that's where the milk ocean is. That's where he lies down. And that's where Dhruvaloka is created. So therefore, it's spiritual world and it's eternal.
So Prabhu, when that when the Brahma's lifespan finishes, like the life duration, and everything, including Kshirodaksha Vishnu and Garbhodaksha Vishnu, when they all go back into Mahavishnu, at that time, what happens? Is
No. Kshirodaksha Vishnu doesn't go into Mahavishnu. He gets his own planet. He has his own planet.
Oh, okay.
And that's where Dhruvaloka goes.
Okay, I had that confusion. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Okay, no problem. Okay, anybody else? Okay, all right. So now if you look at the 4th paragraph on page 38, now Prahlad Maharaj is talking and he's preaching to his friends who are basically demoniac people, the children of demons. And he's saying that any desire that they may have within the core of their heart can be fulfilled without any doubt if they can please Lord Krishna. And he tells them that if they are always engaged in chanting the glories of the Lord and always relishing the nectar of the lotus feet of the Lord, then there's no need for liberation or for fruitive activities, sense gratification. Right? So actually, if you read the last line of same paragraph on page 39 now, right? Do you see it? By this statement of Prahlad Maharaj?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, so somebody wants to read that?
I can read that, Prabhuji.
Okay, go ahead.
By this statement of Prahlad Maharaj, it is clearly understood that one who takes pleasure in chanting and hearing the transcendental glories of the Lord are already surpass all kind of material benediction, including the result of pious, fruitive activities, sacrifices, and even liberation from material bondage.
Right. So that's the bottom line. Prahlad Maharaj is also emphasizing the same point, which is the constant theme of this chapter, which is that one who takes pleasure in chanting and hearing the glories of the Lord, he has already surpassed all sorts of material benedictions, all sorts of pious results, all sorts of sacrifices, and even liberation from material bondage. Right? Again, same point being made again and again and again. Okay, all right. So now, in the first paragraph on page 39, just below what we just read, Indra is telling Lord Nrsimhadev. Just remember when Lord Nrsimhadev had killed Hiranyakashipu, and in a very angry mood, sitting on the throne of Hiranyakashipu, and all these demigods, including Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, they came to offer prayers. So this is Indra's prayer at that time. And he's saying that by killing Hiranyakashipu, my Lord, you have removed the fear of Hiranyakashipu from our hearts. And you have given us a chance to put you, my Lord, in our hearts again. And he actually, Indra accepts that for the devotees, all the opulences that were taken away for whatever reason mean nothing, because the devotees simply want to serve the supreme enjoyer, which is the Lord. Right? So as I say, same theme coming again and again and again, different places of the scripture, in different situation. Okay. Okay. So if you read the second paragraph or the bottom paragraph on page 39, I need a volunteer. Sorry, go ahead. I couldn't hear.
I can read, Prabhu.
Please go ahead.
The purport of the statement, that one, right, Prabhu?
Yes, yes, yes.
The purport of this statement by Indra is that beginning from Brahma down to the insignificant ant, no living entities are meant for enjoying the material opulences. They are simply meant for offering everything to the Supreme Proprietor, the personality of Godhead. By doing so, they automatically enjoy the benefit. The example can be cited again of the different parts of the body collecting foodstuffs and cooking them so that ultimately a meal may be offered to the stomach. After it has gone to the stomach, all the parts of the body equally enjoy the benefit of the meal. So, similarly, everyone's duty is to satisfy the Supreme Lord, and then automatically everyone will become satisfied.
Right. So
should I? Okay.
No, it's okay. Just we'll stop here. And
yes,
so basically, now Indra is telling that right from beginning, right from Brahma down to the most tiniest ant, nobody's an enjoyer. We are Prakriti. We are to be enjoyed. So our job is to do whatever it takes to have Krishna enjoy things. We're meant for offering whatever we have to the Lord for his pleasure. And our pleasure comes from the pleasure of the Lord. Okay, so that's a very important statement I'm trying to make here. Our pleasure comes from the pleasure of the Lord. If the Lord is pleased, we'll be automatically pleased. But we're not pleasing our senses by material means, etc. We're pleasing Krishna's senses, which automatically result in our pleasure. And that's the example is being given here, that when we work very hard to put food in the stomach. So let's take a very simple example. What limbs are involved in putting food in the stomach? Hands are involved, feet are involved, eyes are involved, nose is involved, maybe even ears are involved, and then eating tongue is involved, teeth are involved, all those kind of things, just to put the food in the stomach. But all these limbs are not saying, no, it's for me, it's for me, it's for me, because if they try to do that, like imagine sitting there for 2 hours with your fingers dipped in dal. Right? Nothing will happen. You'll get weaker and weaker and weaker. But by putting the dal in the stomach, The fingers get strong, the hands get strong, legs get strong, so on and so forth. So same thing. By pleasing Krishna, we become pleased automatically. By satisfying Krishna, we are automatically satisfied. Okay, is that clear? Okay, so let's move to next page, which is page 40. And in the first paragraph here, now we're talking about the prayers of Gajendra. Now, what was the situation with Gajendra? He was in the lake where he had gone to enjoy with his wife's children, family, and soldiers, got caught by the crocodile. For 1,000 years, he was trying to get out. And he couldn't, he was getting weak. He thought he was going to lose his life. So what did he do? He picked a lotus flower and offered to the Lord and offers prayers. So in this prayer, he's asking for a favor from the Lord, because as an elephant, he has no experience of the bliss derived from devotional service. And in the previous life he had as king in the Dimna, but as the elephant, he has no experience. So he's asking for a favor. But he understands that the pure devotees don't ask for or pray for anything material, because they've lost all material desires. They become free from all material desires simply by serving the lotus feet of the Lord and the Lord's devotees. Even Gajendra understands that. Okay. Then second paragraph, Lord Vishnu is talking to Durvasa Muni. Now what's happened here? Durvasa Muni has offended Ambarish Maharaj. And instead of Ambarish Maharaj taking offense, the Lord has taken offense, and the Sudarshan Chakra kissed the demon that Durvasa Muni had created and starts to chase Durvasa Muni, who runs for an entire year from planet to planet to planet to planet to planet. He goes to Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, they all reject him. Finally, he goes to Lord Vishnu. He says, you said anybody who comes to your shelter, you protect him. Now, Lord Vishnu is telling Durvasa Muni that you don't understand my pure devotees. They're so satisfied. They're so satisfied being engaged in devotional service that they don't aspire for any of the 5 types of liberation. What to speak of material opulence? So 5 types of liberation is the first time the refers to the other 4 is being given. So what are the other 4 types of liberation? Anybody?
Salokya, Saripya,
Salokya, Samipya, and
Sarasti,
Charshti.
Shasti,
Sarupya.
Sarupi.
Oh my God, it's echoing.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so yeah, so Lord Vishnu is telling him they don't aspire for any of this. Why is he telling him that? He says, therefore, I am Aham Bhakta Paradhino. He Aswatantra Ivdvija. Sadhubhir Grasta Hadayo. Bhakta Bhakta. He's saying, I am completely under the control of my devotees. And he described what kind of devotees he's talking about. Who don't want liberation, want no material opulence. They're just so satisfied serving me. So I'm serving them. I'm in total control of it. I have no enthusiasm for doing anything against their interest. So go back to him. So again, same point being made by Lord Vishnu now. So you had Indra make that point. You had Lord Vishnu make that point. We have Prahlad Maharaj make that point. We have Prithu Maharaj make that point. So different personalities in Srimad Bhagavatam and other scriptures are making the same point. That pure devotees are so happy, feeling the bliss of serving the lotus feet of the Lord and the attraction to the lotus feet of the Lord, including his face, his smile, his laughter, his pastimes, etc., that they got no mood, there was no time, no aspiration, no desire for anything else, including liberation. Now, Nagpatnistan, the wives of Snake Kalia, Now they are on third page on page 40. Sorry, third paragraph, page 40. They are saying any person who receives the dust of Lord's lotus feet does not care for any other perfection or opulence. So now they make this point because they're seeing the Lord's lotus feet on the head of their husband or heads of their husband. So they're making the point, anybody's got that. What other perfection or what other opulence could they ever want or desire? Okay. Now, if you go to the bottom paragraph on page 40, it says, actually, it's making comparison between the devotees and the impersonalists. Okay, everybody understands the term impersonalists, right? The jnanis who don't believe in the personal form of the Lord. The devotees who only want the personal form of the Lord. Okay, and the comparison is that those who are impersonalists are satisfied by simply being liberated from material circumstances. That's what they're looking for. They want to seize their material existence because they feel the world is full of miseries. They don't want here. So they're satisfied by that liberation. But those who are devotees, they don't have to try for that. They can automatically give up material life, and this is the point, and also enjoy the transcendental bliss of hearing and chanting the wonderful activities of Lord Krishna. So the devotees got everything that impersonalists got, but they got much more on top of that, which is the transcendental bliss of hearing and chanting the wonderful activities of Lord Krishna. Sharanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smarana. Shotavya Kritatavya. Different places, same two words keep coming up. Hear and chant, hear and chant. And the devotees are so happy to do that because the pure bliss from that activity, they got no desire for anything else. It's like you give somebody, $1 million and say, hey, what about 10 more? And he said, give me or not give me, I don't care. I got million. So same thing with the devotees. All the other things, material opulences and all that, I don't care. As a matter of fact, we have examples of devotees like Dhruva Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, who, having been offered the opulence by the Lord himself, said, no, I don't want it. Prahlad Maharaj says, don't do business with me, my Lord. I don't want to do business with you. Just give me association of your pure devotees. Let me serve Narad Muni, my spiritual master, your pure devotee. Dhruva Maharaj says, don't give me the pieces of glass, broken pieces of glass. I got by Chintamani now, the touchstone of your lotus feet. Don't tempt me with anything else. I'm not interested. And that's what the point being made here. Okay. On page 41, the first paragraph. Now, Lord Krishna is explaining that a devotee does not want liberation, nor does he want material comforts, nor does he want material opulence. Doesn't even want post of Brahma or post of Indra or post of the king of the planets or the 8 kinds of mystic perfection, Anima, Mahima, Laghima, and all those kind of things. He doesn't want any of this. He just wants to serve the Lord. Just wants to serve the Lord. Nothing else. And the lost devotees. Okay. So again, the theme is constant throughout this chapter. Okay. So we go to next paragraph, which is on page 42. This is a reference to Damodar Ashtakam. The stanza that is referring to is Varam Deva Moksham na Mokshavadhim va Nachanyam Vrineham Vareshadapiha Idam Teva Purnath Gopal Balam Sadame Manasya Virastam Kimanye. What's the meaning? It says, I do not ask you for liberation or any material facility up to the point of liberation. Do you see that there? What I want as your favor is that I may always think of your form in which I see you now as Damodar. Now, who's saying that? Anybody knows?
Manigrava and Nalkuver.
No, not at all.
Satyavrata Muni.
Yes, Satyavrata Muni, who wrote this
Damodar.
Damodar Ashtakam, and is telling Narad Muni. And so he's saying, let me always think of your form in which I see you now as Damodar. Damodar means the rope has tied your belly and you've been tied to the mortar, Supreme Personality of Godhead. You're tied down. But that form is so beautiful, so attractive, that my mind doesn't want anything else besides the ability to see this wonderful form all the time. Right? And if you go down the paragraph a little, where is it? Yeah, just line below, it says, now this is referring to Nalkuvar and Manigri. My only request is that by your merciful pastimes, you may similarly, do you see that there? You may similarly deliver me. The last two lines. You see that? On page 42, first paragraph?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. So again, the point being, don't give me liberation. Don't give me liberation. Just allow me to become your pure devotee. Just allow. So does anybody know what happened to Nalkuvar and Manigriv after they were liberated by the Lord? Where did they go?
Muktinath.
I'm sorry?
They actually went to Muktinath, Mukti Kshetra.
No.
They went, they got the service of singing glories of Lord Krishna.
Where?
In Goloka, right?
Yes, Golok Vrindavan Dham. Every morning, every evening, there will be an assembly of all the residents, including Nand Maharaj, Yashoda Maya, Krishna, Balaram, Radharani, all the gopis, and they will chant one pastime or more every morning, every evening. That was their duty. Imagine being promoted to Golok Vrindavan Dham and given this duty, constantly chanting Krishna's glory and giving it to Krishna to hear. What a beautiful, amazing service, right? And that's why actually they say that we should also read Srimad Bhagavatam in front of the deities. They love hearing it. Lord Chaitanya loved hearing Srimad Bhagavatam from Gadadhar Pandit. There are other pastimes with the devotees where they were reading Srimad Bhagavatam in front of the deities. There's some interruption, and somebody else came along and repeated a chapter. And the Lord said to the devotee later, don't ever do that again. I don't enjoy hearing it from somebody else. I want you to say it.
Prabhu, I had so this particular thing that Nalkuvar and Manigrava were sent back to Goloka directly, immediately at that time, it's mentioned in Bhagavatam, Prabhu?
It's actually Gopal Champu by Jiva Goswami.
Because I was reading Skanda Puran from a little bit from Hari Bhakti Vilas part, and that's where it said that they were asked by Lord Krishna to go and perform penances, and after tapasya they will go to Goloka. So they went to this place called Muktinath, and there are Damodar Kund. There is a kund over there, and there are two kund, and combined it's called Damodar Kund, where Nalakuvar and Manigriva perform tapasya.
Okay, so it's possible. So it's possible that they didn't immediately go to Golok Vrindavan Dham. They went to, what do you call it, Muktinath?
Yeah, Muktinath, and that's where the mouth of Gandaki is from.
Okay, so that's possible that they went there first, performed their penances, and then they will take it to Golok Vrindavan Dham. But Gopal Champu talks about their time in Golok Vrindavan Dham. Okay? Satisfied? No?
Oh, yes, Prabhu, of course.
Okay. Okay. So that's that. Now, let's see. Okay. I'm just trying to see where. I mean, the book talks about that pastime that we just discussed, so I'm not going to talk about that. All right. Then I'm on page 43. The one point I want to make is that a pure devotee does not want the 4 purusharthas. What are the 4 purusharthas?
Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha.
Yes, very good. Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. A pure devotee doesn't want that. He simply wants to remain an eternal servant of the Lord and engage in the service of the Lord and his devotees. And that's the next paragraph on page 43. Would somebody like to read? There's a passage in the Hayashirs. On page 43.
In the same Hayashirsha Pancharatra.
No. The one before. The paragraph before.
There is a passage. Yes, Prabhu.
Yes.
There is a passage in the Hayashirsha Pancharatra which states, "My dear Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, I do not want any resultant benediction from my religious life, nor do I want any economic development, nor do I want to enjoy sense gratification, nor liberation. I simply pray to be an eternal servant at your lotus feet. Kindly oblige me and give me this benediction."
Yeah. So once again, same things being repeated, same message consistently. Don't give me any results of my religious life. Don't give me any economic development. Don't give me any sense gratification. Don't give me liberation. Just make me an eternal servant of your lotus feet, or the lotus feet of your servants or devotees. That's all I want. Now, anybody heard the name Hayashirs before?
No, Prabhuji.
Okay. What about Hayagriv?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. So Hayashirs, Hayagriv, same thing. Shirs means head, Griv means neck. So Hayagriv, same personality as Hayashirs. That's one point. Then Pancharatra. What are Pancharatra? So these are basically scriptures. They recognize as Vedic scriptures. All the great acharyas and learned scholars and the Brahmanas, etc., they refer to them. They are also known as Sattvat Samhita. And the original speaker of these scriptures of Pancharatras is Lord Narayan. Okay. And Narad Muni, Vyasdev, etc., they are the chief propagators of these scriptures. Okay, so you may have heard Nardi Pancharatra, right? That's the one we follow. Right? Everybody heard that Nard Pancharatra?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So basically, Jiva Goswami refers to this in his Paramatma Sandarbha, which is 6 Sandarbhas that Shat Sandarbha that Jiva Goswami has written. Just one of them is that Paramatma Sandarbha. And here he says that the scriptures, the scriptures are, it's I'm talking about Puranas basically. They come in 3 flavors, right? 3 modes. Everybody knows that? Mute, please. So there 6 of those Puranas are in mode of goodness, 6 are in mode of passion, and 6 are in mode of ignorance. Everybody knew that, right? Yes, no?
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. Yes.
Thank you. So the 6 in the mode of goodness, they glorify Lord Vishnu, basically, or his incarnations. 6 in the mode of passion, they glorify Lord Brahma. And 6 in the mode of ignorance, they glorify Lord Shiva. Okay. Some of the examples I can give you for mode of goodness are Vishnu Puran, Narad Puran, Vaman Puran, etc. Matsya Puran, Garuda Puran, all those. Mode of passion, they include Brahma Puran, Bhavishya Puran, Agni Puran, etc. And mode of ignorance includes Shiva Puran, Linga Puran, Kurma Puran, etc. Okay, so just some examples. but there's 6 each in each of those 3 modes. So Jiva Goswami is saying that the scripture, the Puranas, in the mode of passion and ignorance, they're imperfect. And they actually bring a host of troubles. And second point he's making is that the Vedas are very difficult to follow properly. So therefore, being dissatisfied with the Puranas in the mode of passion and ignorance and the Vedas, the Lord said, I need to give something simpler and more, or I should say less troublesome, describe the absolute truth, to describe the worship of the Lord. And therefore the Pancharatra was spoken. Pancharatra basically a 5 sacrifice done over 5 nights, and they were spoken. Okay, so Lord himself spoke, and Narad Pancharatra, that the Narad Muni wrote down, and all the Vaishnavas actually, especially ISKCON, we follow the Narad Pancharatra Vidhi for worshipping of the Lord. Okay. They basically talk about worshipping the Lost Deity form, and each of the 4 Vaishnava Sampradayas have their own. So what are the 4 Vaishnava Sampradayas? Anybody?
Brahma Sampradaya, Kumar Sampradaya, Sri Sampradaya, Rudra Sampradaya.
Yes. So each one of them have their own version of Pancharatra. Okay. And their followers basically follow that process. We follow Narad Pancharatra. Okay. And we get the instructions on temple deity worship, deity forms, methods of purification, process for installing deities, different levels of worship, different festival events, and all the paraphernalia that we use for the worship. So they're all described in great detail. In ISKCON, then very popularly known as the orange books, because the version of the book that we have is an orange binding. That's just a very simple reason as that. Okay.
Prabhu, I had a question.
Go ahead.
So Prabhu, you just mentioned that the Puranas that are in the mode of ignorance or passion, Jiva Goswami has said that they're not perfect. So I do find many times not contradictory, but a little bit a little bit different, not the same information from Skanda Purana and Padma Purana. So in that case, as a Vaishnava, we should take the version of Padma Purana, right?
Correct. The 6 Puranas which are in mode of goodness is what we focus on. Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Actually, Lord Chaitanya, I'm just trying to remember, Lord Chaitanya spent a lot of time talking about his Pancharatas with Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami. And he actually directed them to write books on this. So, for example, Sanatana Goswami wrote Hari Bhakti Vilas. Of course, Rupa Goswami provided the Bhakti Rasama Sindhu as the process for deity worship. Okay. All right. The second paragraph on page 43 mentions that Prahlad Maharaj, and I mentioned this before also, that did not accept any material benediction from the Lord and simply asked for his favor to remain his eternal devotee. Right? That's all I want. Similarly, Hanumanji never asked for any material favor from the Lord, from Lord Ram. And he said, just keep me engaged in your service. So actually, if you look at the last line of this paragraph, it says here, Hanuman, in which he says, my dear Lord, if you like, you see that line?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah, my dear Lord, if you like, you can give me salvation from this material existence or the privilege of merging into your existence, but I do not wish any of those things. I do not want anything which diminishes my relationship with you as servant to the master. How great is that? All I want is, my Lord, to remain your servant eternally. Even if you liberate me, I still want to be your servant. I do not want anything which diminishes my relationship with you as your eternal master, as a servant to you. Even if you liberate me, even after that, I want to remain your servant. That's the mood of a pure devotee. Everything else, ki aisi ki taisi. Don't want it. Okay? Any questions or comments?
Prabhuji,
Prabhu,
what is the name? Sorry, Mother.
Sorry, Mother. Continue, please.
Prabhuji, thank you, Mother. Prabhuji, what's the names of those Shat Sandarbhas, Prabhu?
Oh, it's one I just mentioned. And then you have, oh my God.
Bhakti Sandarbha.
Bhakti Sandarbha, and this is, my mind just went blank. Jeev Sandarbha, Sambandh Sandarbha. I'll find out for you. My mind just went blank.
No problem, Prabhu, no
But
problem.
I actually have all those 6 Sandarbhas. So it's probably
Wow.
somewhere here. And I read them all, obviously, but yeah. I'll
Thank you,
give
Prabhu,
it to
no
you.
problem.
Yeah, sure,
No
sorry.
problem.
Yeah. Okay. So you go to page 44 now. Here, the first paragraph now, what's being mentioned is how rare it is to be a pure devotee. So remember, that's what one of the 6 characteristics is very rare. So a pure devotee is very rare. And so I'm going to share the screen and show you a verse that spoken. Just give me a second. Oh, thank you. Yeah. Krishna Sandarbh, Bhakti Sandarbh, Preeti Sandarbh. And Sonam had just sent it. Tattva Sandarbh.
Paramatma Sandarbha.
Paramatma, we already said that. So Tattva Sandarbh, Krishna Sandarbh, Bhakti Sandarbh. Anyway, somebody just Googled it and they're showing it, okay? Okay, so here's a wonderful, this from Parikshit Maharaj saying, Muktanam api siddhanam narayana parayana sudurlabha prasannatma kotishu api mahamune. So this Parikshit Maharaj saying to Srila Rupa Goswami, oh great sage, among many millions who are liberated and perfect in knowledge of liberation, one may be a devotee of Lord Narayana or Krishna. Such devotees who are fully peaceful are extremely rare. So again, say a pure devotee is very rare. What's the verse 719? Bahunam jananamante jnanavan mam prapatate vasudeva sarvamiti samahatma su dullabha. Very, very rare for somebody to know that Lord Krishna is the all in all, cause of all causes. Now, you and I take it for granted because we read them Samhita, heard so many classes and Srimad Bhagavatam, we take it for granted. But for a vast majority of the people, it's not, that knowledge is not there, even if they're jnanis. Okay, so Parikshit Maharaj is actually making a point to mention it to Srila Goswami. Okay. All right, so let's move on. Let's see. In the third paragraph, same page 44, now there are 2 points being made. One is there may be many liberated people who have merged in the Brahman effulgence. So there may be millions of those, but a pure devotee is very rare. Okay, again, going back to 719 that I was just referring to, Mahatma Sadhulabha. And the second point is that Supreme Personality of Godhead is inconceivable to fully liberated souls, but not to pure devotees like Queen Kunti. They understand him. Why? Because Krishna reveals himself to him. Bhaktya mam avijanati yam yashtas tatvata. Right? Krishna is saying, Bhagavad Gita 1855, that I will reveal myself to these people. Right? So 2 points being made. One is there may be millions of impersonalists merging in the manifoldness, but a pure devotee is very rare. The impersonalists, those who merge in the manifoldness fully liberated, to them Krishna is inconceivable, but not to pure devotees. Okay? All right. Now, so let's pause for a minute, and I just want to come back to the common theme of all the verses that have been quoted in so many pages from page 37 all the way to page 44, the 8 pages. What is that common theme? Anybody?
They don't want liberation. They just want to be the servant of God.
Okay. Yeah. Anything else? Along the same lines. So,
Very rare.
yes, very rare. Bhakti is superior to Mukti. If you can remember that. That's the theme. Bhakti is superior to Mukti. And then everything as we have said is just a variation of that. Okay. Again, Mukti, we're talking about merging the manifolds. Right? And in all these verses we have talked about today, we've seen various ways in which devotional service surpasses liberation. And of course, ordinary material operas, that has no meaning anyway. One who has bhakti has no other desires, no room for any other desires. Okay, which basically means pure bhakti is super excellent. Right? And hopefully, for the sadhakas like me, there is some inspiration to eliminate the anartha nivritti through bhajan kriya. Because anarthas are what's preventing us from becoming pure devotees. Okay, so that's been the constant theme of all these verses on all these pages. Right? Finally, the final verse that is quoted in this series of verses is at the bottom of page 44. Actually, it's the translation of the famous Atmaram verse that I'm going to share with you in a second. This verse clearly establishes the devotee's superiority over a jnani or a karmi. It explains that a liberated soul is completely free from material desires, but still that liberated soul is irresistibly attracted by the desire to hear and understand the pastimes and the qualities and the form of the Lord, because those things are not material. So this famous Atmaram verse, I'm going to put on the screen again. Excuse me. Oh, okay, share screen. And oh, sorry. Would somebody like to read that?
I can read, Prabhu.
Please go ahead.
Atmaramascha munayo nirgrantha api urukrame kuruvanti ahatukim bhaktim itham I can't actually read the words, they're very tiny.
Ittam bhut guno hari.
Bhuta Gana Hari
Guno hari.
Guna Hari.
Yeah. Translation?
Sutta Goswami said, all different varieties of Atmaramas, those who take pleasure in the Atma or spirit self, especially those established on the path of self-realization, though freed from all kinds of material bondage, desire to render unalloyed devotional service unto the personality of Godhead. This means that the Lord possesses transcendental qualities and therefore can attract everyone, including liberated souls.
Right. So, Krishna is also known as Atmaram, right? Why is he called Atmaram? Because he's fully satisfied with himself. He has no desires. So all these people who are liberated, again, Brahman effulgence type, they have no other desires. They have no material bondage. Even they become so attracted to the quality, Tam Bhut Guno Hari. The qualities of the Lord are so attractive that even these people who are known as Atmarams, self-satisfied, no other desires, they become attracted to the form, the qualities, the pastimes of the Lord. And what do they start to do? Kurvanti ahatakim bhakti. They start to perform causeless devotional service. No material motivation. So this is how beautiful the Lord is. This is how beautiful the pastimes of the Lord are. This is how beautiful the Lord's form. Everything about the Lord is so beautiful, so attractive, that it attracts even the people who have no attraction for anything else. Okay. So again, this verse is proving the superiority of Bhakti over Mukti. Because even the Bhaktas who don't desire Mukti, no, sorry, I didn't say that right. Let me say it again. Because Bhaktas do not desire Mukti, but Muktas desire Bhakti. Are you with me? Devotees don't desire liberation, but those who are liberated desire Bhakti. Making sense? Okay, so Bhaktas don't desire Mukti, Muktas desire Bhakti.
Prabhuji, what are the chances of muktas to become, get bhaktas again?
Not again. They were never bhaktas to start with, but they can become bhaktas when they come down back to earth. If they get devotee association, they can become bhaktas. Actually, they'll make very good bhaktas because they already have got past the material desires, material attachments. So they are basically pure. They just need the devotee association and they become pure devotees. Very quickly.
So those people who merge with the Burma effulgence, so they have a chance of coming back to...
Not a chance, almost guaranteed. After a long time, they'll come back.
They will come back. There are chances of...
And then they can associate with the devotees. A lot of them become, what you call philanthropists. They become philosophers, all those kind of things. But those who get devotee association become pure devotees very quickly. So not everyone becomes pure devotee. But those who get devotee association become pure devotees very quickly. Okay? Sure. Anybody else? All right. So, another point, totally aside from everything we've said, is that Srimad Bhagavatam defines Mukti. Now, we're not talking about Brahman effulgence kind. We're talking about the other kind. So, it defines Mukti for devotees. So, again, I want to make sure we understand. We're not talking about impersonalists now. We're talking about devotees. For them, Mukti is defined as establishing themselves in their original form. The actual verse in Srimad Bhagavatam is Mukti hitva anitha rupam swarupen avasthiti. And Prabhupada quotes it many, many times. Basically, it is saying that the devotee forgets that he's a body or he's in any other form. He says, my only form, my only status, my only state is to be eternal servant of Krishna. That is my Swarupa. So it becomes established in the Swarupa. And that's mukti for devotees, as opposed to impersonalists who merge in the Brahman effulgence. Now, once you get to your Swarupa, it's permanent, because that's permanent position. They never have to come back. The impersonalists have to come back. Okay, those who get freedom from material bondage, that's temporary, because they can get the bondage again. You know, the example is given that if you're flying on a plane, you have to come down sooner or later, because otherwise you'll run out of fuel. But those who are devotees getting mukti, they never have to come down. Jad katvana nivartante tadham paramam. Okay, just on the side. It's not in the chapter, but I just thought I'll mention that.
Prabhu,
Huh.
so devotees should desire for this mukti, or even this mukti is banned for, like, we should not?
No. So remember, we already established that devotees are not asking for any kind of mukti.
Okay.
But my point was, when they do get mukti, this is the kind they get.
Okay.
Because Krishna says, no, you have to take it. You have to take it. No choice. You have to take it. So it's okay, fine. But service there, right? Yes, he says yes. Okay, fine. So to them, that's the main point. And that's what Krishna, Lord Chaitanya said, Mam janmani janmeshwari bhaktat bhakti rahatu kitoi. Don't give me liberation. I don't want it. Just let me serve you. And that's the main point the devotee is making. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Let's go on page 45. The first paragraph is explaining that a devotee is not after, to your point, after any of the 5 types of liberation. And of course, Sayujya, merging the Brahman effulgence, is the worst. That's completely rejected. But sometimes when Krishna insists, the other 4 types are accepted by the devotees. But only if Krishna insists. As long as they're allowed to serve the Lord. So devotees don't want liberation for their freedom or for their happiness or material happiness, but for service only. So if that's the only way you let me serve eternally, fine. But just remember, I didn't ask for it. I don't want it. It's secondary. And that's why, as the verse we read about Vritrasur, devotees can go to hell or to the material world or accept mukti as long as they're allowed to serve the Lord. And that's the main desire of the devotee, to serve. And again, we talked about the difference before. The main desire for the devotee is to serve. Main desire for mukti is personal happiness, which is freedom from material miseries. Right? For the impersonalists, the main thing is their own happiness. For the devotees, the main thing is the happiness of the Lord. Right? Calm and prem. Okay. So what does it say? Chaitanya Charitamrita says, Bhukti Mukti Kami Atev Ashant Krishna Bhakt Nishkam Atev Shant. So all these people, you know, the bhuktas, which is looking for material enjoyment, sense gratification, or the muktas looking for personal liberation, they have personal desires. So therefore, they don't have peace of mind. But a devotee, pure devotee, has no desires except to serve Krishna. Therefore, it's completely calm. Okay. Now, the bottom portion of the paragraph on page 45 says, sometimes those who are promoted to Vaikuntha planets, now we're not talking Golok Vrindavan, Vaikuntha planets, and they may possess one of the, or all four of the kinds of liberation. They may actually develop attraction and affection for Krishna, in which case they can be promoted to Golok Vrindavan. Happens very rarely, but can happen. But that affection for Krishna develops from devotee association and not due to any kind of dissatisfaction of the material kind. That, oh, I don't want to serve Vishnu anymore, or this only servant here now. Nothing like that. It's just that devotee association got you attracted to Krishna, and therefore you develop the desire to go from Vaikuntha planet to Golok Vrindavan. And as we know, the major difference between Lord Krishna and Lord Vishnu is what? Anybody?
The 4 mellows.
The 4 mellows, exactly right. The 4 mellows and the mood also. Like there's no opulence, there's no awe and reverence. Now he's not in his majestic form. Krishna is not in majestic. Vishnu is. Right? So Krishna will do things like Ras Leela, He'll share prasadam with his friends. He'll get tied by Mother Yashoda in the Damodar Leela. He'll eat soil, all these kind of things. Vishnu can't imagine doing that. Narayan cannot imagine doing that, but Krishna does that. Although Narayan, Vishnu, Krishna are not different, but the mood is different. The mellow is different. Like Madhuri Ras, even though Lakshmi is there in Vaikuntha, but there's very small amount of Madhuri Ras there. It's a very formal husband and wife relationship between Lord Vishnu and Mother Lakshmi. So actually, Prabhupada once gave the example of a factory owner. A factory owner may be in the office or maybe at home. In the office, everybody bows down to him. He's very serious, he's grave, and he gives orders. He goes home, his wife might yell at him. His son might, 2-year-old son might pull his hair or climb on top of him. I remember a very famous story about Churchill. Churchill used to be the Prime Minister of UK. And one time he had an appointment with somebody important, and that person got there, was asked to wait because Churchill is in a meeting. And he waited half an hour. Churchill wasn't coming out, so he got impatient. He peeked in. And you know what Churchill was doing? He was playing horsey with his grandson, who was on top of his back, and Churchill was walking on all his fours. So that's like Krishna. Krishna will do anything as Krishna, but as Lord Narayana and Vishnu, very serious, boss in the office. So Krishna is God at home. Narayana is God in the office. So formal opulence, majesty for Lord Narayan, informal, no majesty, and actually a lot of us no respect from other people for Krishna when he's in Vrindavan, right? Okay, let's see what else do I want to cover today. Okay. Now we're coming to the bottom of page 45. In the previous verses that we have discussed so far today or tonight, we established the devotee's superiority over Jnani or Karmi. The rest of the chapter started with the bottom paragraph on page 45, establishes the superiority of the Vrindavan devotees over all other devotees of Lord. So we still talk about pure devotees. We talk about the pure devotees of Vrindavan are superior to pure devotees of anybody else. Sorry, anywhere else, or any other form of Krishna for that matter. Why? Because the pure devotees of Vrindavan, they have had their hearts stolen by Krishna. And therefore, not only do they reject all types of bhakti and mukti, they're not even attracted to the grace of Lord Narayan or any other form of Krishna, including Vasudeva Krishna of Mathura and Dwarka. The devotees of Vrindavan are not attracted to Vasudeva Krishna of Dwarka and Mathura. Lord Chaitanya said, I worship my Lord Shyam Sundar of Vrindavan, not Krishna of Dwarka. And that's the big difference between devotees of Vrindavan and devotees of any other form of Krishna, including Vasudeva Krishna. So let's finish by reading the last paragraph on chapter 4, on page 46. Need a volunteer, which basically establishes the same point that I've just mentioned.
I will do it, Prabhuji.
Please go ahead.
A devotee who is attached to a particular form of the Lord does not wish to redirect his devotion to other forms. For example, Hanuman, the devotee of Lord Ramchandra, knew that there is no difference between Lord Ramchandra and Lord Narayana, and yet he still wanted to render service only unto Lord Ramchandra. That is due to the specific attraction of a particular devotee. There are many, many forms of the Lord, but Krishna is still the original form. Though all of the devotees of the different forms of Lord are in the same category, still it is said that those who are devotees of Lord Krishna are the topmost in the list of all devotees.
Yeah, what a wonderful paragraph. So again, the point being made is a devotee gets attached to a particular form of the Lord. And that's the only form they want to worship. But the example of Hanumanji is given, that even though Lord Ramchandra, Lord Vishnu, Lord Narayan, Lord Krishna, they're all the same, but Hanumanji only wants to serve Lord Ram. And there's a very famous pastime where Krishna sent somebody to call Hanuman and said, please tell him Krishna is looking for you. And when the person went to Hanumanji, who was performing Arti to Lord Ram, Hanuman simply said, please ask him to wait, and didn't go. After a while, Krishna sent this person again and said, this time said, Ram is looking for you, Lord Ram is looking for you. And as soon as he said that, Lord Hanuman dropped everything and ran. But for him, it was Ram, nobody else. You also know the story about Anupam, Sri Anupam, who's the third brother of Sanatana Goswami, Rupa Goswami. He was Ram Bhakt. And everybody, including Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, even Lord Chaitanya, tried to convince him that Ram and Krishna are same, so worship Krishna. And he said, okay, I'll try. And then after the one night, he came back and said, I tried, but I can't. And they said, no, we're just testing you. It's fine. But my point is that Anupamji was not interested in any other form than Lord Ram, because that's the form and that's the mood of Ram that they were attracted to. Right? The paragraph says there are many, many forms of Lord, but Krishna is the original form, original Supreme Personality of God. Krishna's to Bhagavan Swayam. Everybody's chance or kala, the plenary portions or the plenary portions of plenary portions. Okay. Now, I just want to repeat this, that yes, Krishna and Vishnu, same tattva, same Vishnu tattva. But the mood, the mellow and the mood is different. And that's what makes the difference. And you all probably know that there are 4 qualities that only Krishna has out of the 64. That's mentioned in Nectar of Devotion later on. And nobody does. And those are the Madhuryas.
Yeah.
Right? The 4 Madhuryas. Prem Madhurya, Leela Madhurya, Rup Madhurya, and Venu Madhurya. And that's what distinguishes Krishna from all of the Vishnu forms. And that's what distinguishes the devotees of Krishna of Vrindavan from all other forms of the Lord. So yes, we serve, we respect and all that, every other form. We don't distinguish because there is no distinction. They are non-different. But those who are following in the movement of Lord Chaitanya, and therefore following the footsteps of the devotees of Vrindavan, we worship Shyam Sundar form of Krishna. No other form of Krishna. No other form attracts us. We are committed, we are dedicated, we are attracted to the Shyam Sundar form, the Tribhangi flute playing form. Tribhangi Lalitam Niyat Prakasham, as Brahma Samhita says. Okay. Just by the way, just coming to me that Mother Lakshmi wanted to enter the Ras Leela. She wasn't allowed because she refused to accept the leadership of the gopis. She did not want to surrender to them. And she could not give up her Aishwarya Bhav, the majestic form. Therefore, she was not allowed. Okay, that's just I don't know why that came to my mind, so I just want to mention that. Any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thanks for the class. I have a very basic doubt. I'm not able to understand these liberated positions. Like if I possess features similar to Krishna, how is that liberation? That if I have similarly bodily features or opulences, it seems like that's getting more entangled than liberated. Why is that said like a stage of liberation?
Okay, so first of all, if you're not liberated, you will not get Krishna's form. Nobody looks like Krishna otherwise. Nobody looks like Vishnu otherwise. Nobody is allowed to live near Krishna in Vrindavan or Golok Vrindavan, or so Samip, Salok, etc. All those things you're not allowed until you qualify. And qualification.
I get the two. I get the two, the living and the personal association. But having the same bodily features, like what is that form of liberation?
So that is typically in Vaikuntha Dhams, where you get a 400 form. So you probably have read the story of Ajamil, where the Vishnu Dutta showed up. So they have the same form as the Lord, except they do not have the line in their heart, the Shiva Sarekha, and they don't have cost of money. Otherwise, they look exactly the same. So that's that liberation. And the Sashti is same degree of opulence, which means the brightness, etc., is the same. But once again, only pure devotees get that. We non-devotees or pseudo-devotees or aspiring devotees don't get that. Only when all the contamination is gone, only when we have lost all the material desires, all material attachments, do we qualify to become liberated. So I don't know if I'm answering your question, but there's no way you and I can get any of those four until we become pure.
Yeah, I think I can't even comprehend, because
that's
to
okay.
me those seem very like material to me rather than
no, they're not
like
material, because material desires are gone already. This is Krishna's mercies. So for example, well, you said that you already understand that the Samipya and Saluk, which is same closeness and same planet, but others are basically his mercy given to you. And as I said, the Sarup is mostly in Golok Vrindavan Dham. I'm sorry, Vaikuntha Dhams, where you get the 400 form. And that's what they mean by Sarup. Right?
And
got
it. And on the same, like the fifth one, which is merging in the Brahman effulgence, there, I think my understanding was that one cannot permanently stay in that, and one would actually would want to have that association. Soul would want to have that association with Krishna. So one cannot stay there and would fall from there and again look to associate with Krishna, like on a more personal, at a more personal level.
So I half agree with you. As I explained before, that these impersonalists, they don't believe in the form of Krishna. So there's no such thing as association for them. They don't even know this concept of association. They only want to get out of the material world because of the miseries. So, but they become so bored. I mean, imagine living for millions of years in a place where there's nothing but light, nothing else. There's no conversation happening. There's no variety, just light. So they get so bored, they come down to earth. And then they have a choice. They can become philanthropists. They can become just more gyanis. They can become philosophers. Or if they're lucky, they get devotee association, they can become pure devotees. All those possibilities are there.
And all these are temporary liberations, because one can actually fall from there.
Like no, not all these. Only the Sayujya, the merging of Brahman is temporary. Others are permanent. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Did I answer your question to your satisfaction, by the way?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Anybody else?
Prabhuji, I have a question.
Sunana Mataji, boliye.
Hi, Krishna. Prabhuji, when we talk about Hanumanji, Prahlad Maharaj, Dhruv Maharaj, that they didn't have any materialistic desires and all, and pure devotees. So at the pure devotee level, yes, pure devotees, they don't have any materialistic desires. But when I talk about me, how should how should I see that we should not ask for the materialistic things from Krishna? How should we control those desires? Because I'm not pure devotee. I'm not even devotee yet. So how should I pray to Krishna?
So you and I share that neither am I, and I have material desires as well. And so you and I are no different in that sense. And basically, Srimad Bhagavatam says, if you cannot control your desire for material things, go to Krishna and ask for it. Akama sarv kamo va moksha kamo udardhi. So Bhagavatam says that. But don't go to demigods, don't go to anybody else. Just go to Krishna. Why? Because Krishna has a choice. He can give you what you're asking for, or he can say, no, I'm going to purify your desire by giving you the shelter of my lotus feet and make you a pure devotee. That's the benefit of going to Krishna. Demigods cannot do that. So Mataji, if you have material desires, go to Krishna and ask for it. We're not pure yet, like you said. But continue your hearing and chanting process, continue your prasadam process, continue your devotee association process, continue deity worship, continue visiting the dham, continue reading books, and one day, guaranteed, we'll all become pure devotees. It's just a matter of how long it will take. But it'll happen if you stay with the process. Srila Prabhupada said, if you chant 16 rounds, follow 4 regulative principles, guaranteed you will go back home to Godhead.
Yeah.
So don't worry.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Don't worry about it. Just continue your devotional service. We all what we call sadhakas, performing Vaidhi Bhakti with rules and regulations. But that's how we start. One day we'll get there. Just stick with it, though. Stick with it.
Slow and steady wins the race.
Slow and steady wins the race. That's correct. Any other questions? Okay, then I guess we'll say Hare Krishna to everyone.
Prabhuji, just one thing. Sorry to interrupt.
No, go ahead. Please go ahead.
It just came in my mind. Maybe you can keep it in your agenda for whenever you find time. We want not we, but yes, I was thinking if you can give lecture on how to accept the service. After some time doing the services, then it becomes monotonous and we feel like, okay, karna padega kyunki service hai. That mentality comes, wherein then it becomes a kind of majburi thing. Now we have to do it because it's my service. That bhav goes away. That is what I am feeling. So I was thinking maybe whenever you find time, you can give a little bit your thoughts on that.
Sure, can do that.
How to accept service.
Yeah, no, basically, why does the service start feeling like a chore?
Yes.
Hi, majburi.
Exactly. It should not like a chore. Correct.
Yeah. So yeah, I understand. And we can talk about that, but in very, very short way, because we don't have the taste yet. So remember the 9 steps or 9 stages of devotional service as explained by Rupa Goswami. Ado Shraddha, the faith first. Tato Sadhu Sang, the devotee association. At Bhajana Kriya, then performance of devotional service. Syat Artha Nivritti. Then the Artha Nivritti starts. Then we come to Nishtha, which is firm faith. Then we get Ruchi. So we have to go through a few stages before you get that taste. And that's why it feels like chore.
Okay.
But if we stick with it and try to remain steady, and I told you all the ways to remain steady is devotee association, reading the books, Bhagavatam, etc., deity worship, visiting the dham, or at least developing the mood of the dham, chant, then you'll get there. But it'll take time because remember where we're coming from. Millions of lifetimes of garbage is on our back. It'll take some time to get rid of it. But remember Krishna's, Srila Chaitanya's message, Cheto Darpan Marjanam. As we chant, that cleansing is happening. That we know. It's just that it's going to take time.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji.
You're welcome. Any other questions or comments? Okay, all right then. Thank you very much. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripasindubhyevcha pattanam pavanebhyo
Vaishnavebhyo namo namah.
Yeah,
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prabhuji. You're all
Thank you.
awesome as always.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Prabhuji. Thank you
Hare
very
Krishna.
much.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna Sonam. You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Usha Mataji, good to see you. It's been a while.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu. Good to
Hope
see
you're
you.
doing
too.
well.
Okay, thanks, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Nana, how are you? You are hiding today.
I joined late. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's
I
okay.
was busy doing other things. So I have to hide. How are
Okay.
you?
I'm good. Good to see you.
Thank you, Prabhu. I think I get the crux.
Good.
I
I mean,
joined
there's
at the right
one
time.
single theme today. You know,
Yes.
so many ways, but there's one single theme today. And if you can just remember that.
Good thing is you always send that which chapter we're reading, so I've gone through the reading stuff. So I know even if I miss, I will caught hold it.
Oh, okay. But not make habit of that, right?
Yes, no. Busy life with young children, Prabhuji.
Okay, I'm just joking. That's good.
Okay.
No, that's really good.
Hare Krishna,
Thank you. Hare
everyone.
Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare Krishna. Isha, I saw your message. Thank you, Isha.
Hare Krishna, Pitashri. Hare Krishna.
Anjibiti. Hare Krishna.
Hare
How are
Krishna.
you?
Hare Krishna, Pitashri.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
Hare
Prabhu.
Krishna,
Thank
everyone.
you, Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.